how to address that now with Dr. Devi Nampiaparampil, the physician here. Doctor, on this variant, is it fair to say that I understand the fact that it's a wild card, but that some nations might be overreacting by shutting things down, turning off travel, when African leaders themselves are saying it's not a huge issue? Now, they could be talking their book. I understand that they don't want to be ostracized and sort of, isolated. But what's your take on what you know and have seen of this?
I think so. I mean, in general, so viruses, as they mutate, so historically, they generally become more contagious because they want to survive, right? It's survival of the fittest. So they want to become more contagious where they spread to more people, but they want to become less deadly case for case, because if they kill the host, then they die also. So generally speaking, we're not going to see COVID disappear, but we're going to see variants where they become more widespread. And you also don't want to create an incentive where countries don't want to report the new variants because they're afraid they're going to be punished with travel bans and stuff. Because otherwise, we create an incentive where we don't hear about the variants. I mean, we're seeing that a little bit in New York, where we have this new sort of ban or halt on elective surgeries for certain hospitals, because what's happening is with this sort of halt on the elective surgeries, that's how the hospitals actually make money to pay for the sick. So if you halt them, then these smaller or medium-sized hospitals, they don't have enough funding to kind of stay in business over time. And so that's a punishment on them rather than offering them help to be able to take care of the sick, whether it's help in the form of supplies, because a lot of them have trouble getting medical supplies, perhaps. And on top of that, staffing, because staffing is really where you see trouble in terms of bed capacity.
The bigger issue, to your point, doctor, is those who have these ailments, hard or otherwise, that now have to push them off and maybe suffer as a result.
Exactly.
The ICUs, then, is it your sense that these are mostly unvaccinated people who are in them? Because you hear back from others, no, it's not just the unvaccinated, but almost all the numbers I've seen, I get them every day, show that that is overwhelmingly the case. And that's what's creating this ICU problem.
Well, talking to my colleagues, so people who are unvaccinated, generally speaking, are more at risk for any of the COVID complications. I mean, it's not separated out, though, to whether those unvaccinated folks are people who previously had COVID or whether they are people who've never been exposed to COVID. I mean, that would be an important statistic to have available to us. But also, ICUs are filled with all kinds of other patients, right? Right now, we're seeing flu coming up, RSV, which is another virus that's extremely contagious, parainfluenza. So you want to look to see who is in the ICU. If you want to unload the ICU, can you do anything about any of those other conditions? And then you want to think in terms of staffing. So when people talk about bed capacity, it's not the physical bed, but it's the resources that go into that. Typically, we think about 24-hour nursing, but also think about, you need the sheets laundered. You need to have the room cleaned by housekeeping. So if you don't have enough staffing in all these different areas, then that bed becomes rendered useless, right? So can you get other staffing and other help for these types of functions? Because then immediately your bed capacity will go up. So really, we need to look at all of these different factors and see what we can do to increase that bed capacity all around.
Yeah, make it good for everybody. Doctor, thank you very, very much.